So, for all of you that don't know me, my name is Dominic Koenig. I own the property down at 123 Eastern Run Road. I'm not going to sit up here and talk down on your guys' administration. I feel like you guys get a lot of that. But I am going to sit here and ask, after this matter's been voted on already, I'm just curious as to why my escrow fund hasn't been refunded to me just yet.
Is it a wood tank or something?
123 Houston Road Road.
Yeah, this whole matter has been a mess, and whether it was the old administration or miscommunication, at this point I really don't know. You guys had there's three terms.
I had you on the agenda last meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't.
They said you were coming, so I did prepare like notes for your plea.
Yeah, I wasn't aware.
Sorry to put you on the agenda this time, but by the time I knew you were coming this time, the agenda was already prepared. But what I could find, May 31st, 2022, he entered into a holding tank agreement with an escrow, with a check for $300 for the agreement, $2,000 for whatever. So at that time, that's what it was. The $2,000 was for the escrow and $300 for the application. At that time, it was stated that there was a holding tank, I guess, already on the property. But the owner at that time was Leonard Alexander?
He was the previous owner, yes.
Okay, so that was when he owned the place.
Yeah.
October, the 31st of May, 2022. And in June of 22, the township manager seemed to be working with you to remedy the property's existing violation with Washington County Storage Council?
Yeah, so what had happened is, initially before buying this property, I went to Washington County Sewage and I talked with Keith Glumack. And we had talked, and I was under the explanation that the property needed the well to be removed before it opened up space for a new septic system. I came to you guys and I showed you my plans for the water line that I was going to run, and I was practically laughed at. It was like 900 foot of water line down a cliff, so I can understand why, but basically they said your only answer was to do this holding tank contract. So that's what we did, anyway.
So then in August of 22, there was a request for a no lien letter and a temporary occupancy permit, and you had come to a meeting, and your relative was gonna do the job, if I recall. Yeah, cause it's in the.
So I had to get a quote written
Yeah, I
up for the
remember
escrow
you.
fund.
I was on the board then, but I was new.
Okay.
So I remember you being at the.
Yeah, that was just convenience that he had.
You asked the township if they do a temporary occupancy permit for you while you did the job.
To transfer the sale of the deed, that's
Transfer
correct.
the.
Yeah,
At that time, the township, township had you put in an escrow of 115% of the corrective action, $250 to the cost of administrative agreement, and $1,500 to cover the township's enforcement costs, which equaled a total of $20,590.
yeah, that sounds about right.
October 17th, 2020, Blue Skies Closing made another request for no lien lender temporary occupancy permit for the property, stating that they gave a check for $155. As of October 3rd, 22, and that an application and a check of $155 was sent to Washington County Storage Council, and that the property had been approved for a holding tank. The township responded to send a passing dye test to Blue Sky from Washington County Storage Council for the holding tank on this property. What they got back was a private plumber dye test for the Alrema sewage system, not for the holding tank with Washington County Storage Council. Then, the township had Mr. Makel's office send the no lien letter on 11/03/22 and state that we were still waiting for the dye test for them.
Yeah, so like I had said, initially whenever I met with Heath, I was under the conclusion that this property, after the well was removed, opened up enough space for the septic system.
November 2nd, 23, at your request, the board voted to withdraw the temporary occupancy permit and permanent occupancy permit. December 23, I reached out to Washington County Storage Council because you were calling for your escrow, to get them to inspect your holding tank so we could give you this permanent occupancy permit, and release your escrow. They stated that you didn't put in a holding tank, you decided to go with an unpermitted septic.
This was the plan from the beginning, that's correct.
I'm just saying what they told us.
Yeah,
They said, well, they didn't put in they did an unpermitted septic.
I understand.
Then on March 4th, you had a violation from the Washington County Storage Council. I think so, it got back and forth, because the board would make a motion to like release you and give you a permanent
Yeah.
occupancy permit as soon as we got that inspection report from Washington County Storage Council, because we're like stuck in the middle, we can't give you an occupancy permit until, and then unfortunately you had a fire. So then, I think the board at one time talked about if the water, you know, if the meter was pulled, the water meter was pulled on the property,
Right.
that we could just give him his money
Yeah.
back, because he would no longer require a holding tank or a septic. There's no water service to the property, then there's no need for any sort of service.
Yeah, so I have a garage that I keep some of my equipment out down there, and I've been talking to Mr. Cassidy at Washington County Sewage, and you know, he's told me that having a hose bib down there is okay, but the garage is on a separate parcel from this original holding tank agreement, so it's totally unrelated.
So is there a water service to this parcel?
To the garage, yes, not this parcel, no.
It's a separate part, so
It's a
there's no
s-
water turned on. What happened to the water that used to go to your house? Has that been tapped off?
It was capped off, yes.
So there's no
nothing.
water service, and that's what I think we all agreed to. If he capped off, if he showed us something from PAWC that there's no water service to that parcel, that we no longer required a septic or a holding tank.
Yeah, like I said, there's nothing going to this parcel, and you know, I talked to Mr. Cassidy about this as well. As far as the garage goes, you know, I'm talking to him, seeing if maybe there is a possibility now as far as distances to open up a room for a septic down the road. But as far as things go right now, I'm kind of just sick of the whole thing and just ready to.
I'm sure it's a lot of money in limbo, I get it.
Yeah.
But if there's water on to the partial, if there's water, there has to be sewage, and we're bound by the Storage Facilities Act to make sure where's the sewage go. If there's water, you know, so the simplest thing, you know, after everything you went through with the fire was, if PAWC pulls the meter at that partial, and we have a paper from PAWC that there's no water to the partial, there's no reason for a holding tank or a septic.
Yes.
then we X that out, right?
So, yeah, so the garage in the tradition in the old duplex that had sat down there were tied into the same meter. They ran on the same water service, so that water service is still active. So I'm not able to basically call and pull that because I have service down at the garage still. As far as the holding tank or the contract goes, I mean, you can see the first two lines basically says the tax ID and the parcel number for the old duplex that is no longer there. I understand if you guys, you know, if you would potentially want some sort of sewage, I could look into putting a holding tank for the garage, but there's no indoor plumbing in that place, so I don't really see the need for it.
So how much do we have in escrow? How much do you have?
20,000, well,
Well-
no, we took 20,000, but that had partially to do, I'll tell you what the escrow amount was.
2,000 for the holding tank, it says here,
That's the holding tank agreement,
right? That's the 2,000
yeah.
escrow.
So that's 2,000 in escrow for that. There was a escrow, this is his total escrow, that's how much we took total. But this was to cover the enforcement, this was to cover the cost of the agreements. You know, so it's, what we made a motion to do is 20,590 minus the 1,500 minus the 250. And give him back that, but the issue is whether or not we were waiting for a while for a demolition permit too. I think that was one of the things we had to have was a demolition permit
Yeah.
because of the fire.
Yep.
And the water service.
So you're saying basically that keep the 250 cover the cost of the administrative equipment, 1,500 cover the cost of enforcement, and
Not, yeah,
so basically take that 1,750 off the 20,590.
yeah. that's what our motion was. But then he had a fire. That was when his house was still standing. That was to give him a permanent occupancy permit. The 1,500 was to cover the temporary occupancy permit, the inspection for Harold would give him a permanent occupancy permit, and the enforcement with Washington County Storage Council would be a inspection. Then the fire happened. And then we were waiting on a demolition permit, because we needed to have something that there was no longer dwelling on that.
All right, when we, again, I don't, what, how about we do this, yes?
I don't know.
How about we,
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Speakers.
Shut this off. That's what that is. Feedback. I don't even have mine turned on, so it wasn't I think it was feedback from
I
not
think
being
we need to make sure we don't screw up on this.
So, is there anybody living on that property?
No. I keep some equipment down there, and a buddy of mine uses one of the garages as
So
well.
has the structure, other than your garage, that you got a permit from Tammy from, is there any structure there at all?
On that parcel, no.
Why don't we have someone, the code enforcement take a look at it?
Yeah.
And then analyze this, and then the next meeting, make a motion, put something on the agendas. I really don't recall, I mean, I know, I
I
remember
put
the
it
name
down as a-
Dominic Koenig, I've seen the name.
I put it
Yeah.
down as a discussion at his request at the last meeting, but merely a discussion. I didn't know he was coming
Oh.
tonight till I sat down and
All
I
right.
saw the paper.
How about we do that, okay, and then, cause it's,
I did build a file to,
I
once,
think it's a good
Diana
part
told
of
me.
it, run it,
you can make the
and
right decision.
put it on the agenda, right?
yeah, we put it on the agenda for a vote at the next meeting, but you'll probably get a call from Tammy, our zoning and code enforcement officer.
So I gotta show up at the next meeting as well.
Well, you'll be talking to, Tammy in the meanwhile.
If she,
So she needs it, we're forced to police sewage, so to speak. We're forced to be the person that makes sure there's not raw storage on the ground.
I understand that. As far
We
as,
need some sort of verification that, one, there was a demolition permit, so there's no more dwelling.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, if there's water and there's a building, there has to be sewage.
okay,
So, you know, if you're saying there's not water onto this partial,
yeah,
we just need to have our professionals sign off on that fact so that we can protect the township and.
okay.
Will R.C. Cassidy give you any documents about the sewage end of it?
Not really, no. I've talked to him and Heath both, and, you know, we're trying to put our brains together, see if there's a possibility for that garage down there.
Will PA Water give you any document that says there's no water running to that building?
No, like I said, it's tied in with the garage, so as far as,
You're still gonna have it?
maybe like water usage, maybe, you could probably go off of that.
Yeah.
Because it's been knocked down significantly. Like I said, I have a hose bib down there, but it
Tammy
really,
had
doesn't
verified,
get
there's
used.
no like living quarters in this garage,
No.
yeah, because she did the electrical inspection.
Okay.
I will tell you this though,
Mhm.
I know you're frustrated by the changes board and stuff, but take it easy on the staff.
I
I read
understand,
some of
and-
the emails, it's not there,
I
they're
know.
bound by us and,
You can just imagine after everything I've been through,
I
to
get
be
it.
having to stand here and fight through this, you know, I'm
yeah.
24 years old, I'd rather be out with my friends right now.
Come yell at Dennis Mago.
I'm not
I
gonna do
wish I was
that.
24 again.
Yeah, I read a couple of the emails, and I read your frustration and everything, which is why I pulled the whole file to try to get, because I wasn't on the board when you started.
Yeah.
You know, and then none of them were on the board even when your house, well, I guess when your house burnt down, but, when that temporary occupancy permit stuff. So, I mean, we're just all,
Yeah, I
we are
understand.
bound by, if there's water, there has to be storage, if there's a dwelling, there has to be storage, and Washington County Storage Council is our delegated person for that.
Does he need to get a hold of Tammy and Michelle?
Tammy's been getting a hold of them, she did some electrical inspection and building inspection stuff for the garage you have over there.
I had an inspection done, I'm not too sure who, but I guess it would be
Tammy
your,
from McMillan, yeah.
okay, yeah, it must have been them then.
She's the person who verified the structure no longer exists.
She issued his demolition permit, but just because you issued the demolition permit, has the demolition been completed? She issued the permit to do so, but I don't know that we've completed.
She can also
I may have some
Call.
pictures and stuff, or otherwise I can
See,
bring some.
on the other side of that.
Yeah, right. But she can put everything together and give the gentleman a
Did
piece
your-
of paper that says it's on the road.
Yeah, did you were issued a demolition permit, but has it been closed out, like, has it been demolished yet?
Yes, it's
Okay, I'm
demolished.
just asking, I don't know, I
Yes.
don't.
Does it need to be closed out, like the permit? How does, I don't understand.
Well,
how
she
it works.
records at the county that there's no structure there anymore and
So I
stuff
have to
like
turn-
that, so you don't get taxes on a structure that doesn't exist.
Okay,
Get a hold of her, make sure the paperwork's done for you.
Cause you're gonna
Okay.
end up getting a
Okay.
tax bill for a building that don't exist if you don't
Okay.
close that out.
okay, I'll make sure I hand that back into
Yeah,
her,
that's
see what I have.
because it should be the little final stuff. but-
And I did build her a file and everything of the money that you're, so, I have another question. So, this here, the 20,000 and so forth, that was the 110% for the cost of his estimated job. But we have that over there, which is a holding tank agreement.
2,000 escrow.
So you have 2,000 sitting in escrow for a holding tank that you don't have.
Okay,
So that would be, so you had $20,590.
So he'd be getting, if you take the 2,000 off of that, 1,750 off of that, he's looking at 16,000.
No, you're adding the 2,000 back on.
No,
This is money you have sitting in escrow for holding tank. So we gave 20,590 minus 1,500 minus 250.
So the 2,000
To add the
the 2,000
2,000.
not part of that at all.
No, it's totally different.
So it's 20
It's
grand.
20,840, it'd be 20,840 if you take it.
That's right.
this has been going on. for so
Congratulations on your
long.
house burning. But, so, I mean, you did have $2,000 in a holding tank escrow too. And that's always kept in escrow because if you fail to pump your holding tank, the township has to take the responsibility
Okay,
to
so
do
that
it.
should come back.
And that's what that 2,000 is for.
That makes
Your
sense.
other escrow has to do with you putting in that holding tank,
Okay.
so. And like I said, I did build a file for Tammy, who can share it with your office with copies of all the checks. But, yeah, we can't make a vote on it tonight, we need Tammy to verify the demolishing happened and
Okay.
whether or not.
Do you mind having someone else reach out to me as far as the next meeting goes? Because otherwise I would have been at the last one, but
December 15th,
December 15th, so 6:30?
6:30.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure I'm
December
here for it.
15th. But yeah, Tammy will be reaching out to you either way.
Okay.
Because she has to come and ask you to step foot on your property.
Yeah, absolutely.
To inspect.
Good.
So,
Well, thank you guys very much, and
Thank you.
have a good Thanksgiving.
You too.